How are you today?
I'm doing good here at National Hurricane Conference.
Yes, you've been busy with earthquakes and tsunamis, but so far no hurricanes.
No hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin.
Right.
People tend to forget FEMA actually goes from Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, the United States, CONUS area, Hawaii and Alaska, but we also cover American Samoa, Guam, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands are all part of U.S. territories. So while it may be quiet here, last year when we were dealing with the American Samoa tsunami, we actually had a typhoon threatening Guam and the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands. So, I still have tropical weather, but I have tropical weather much greater than just the Atlantic Basin.
Right. Well, with the upcoming 2010 Atlantic hurricane season, how prepared do you feel that you and FEMA are for a disaster?
Same answer I gave you when you asked me how I felt about the state being prepared. We're only as prepared as the citizens in the areas are prepared. Again, we can only do so much. FEMA's not the team, we're part of the team. And if people that live in evacuation areas haven't made the plans to evacuate, people that haven't taken the time to get their plans together, get their supplies, that's going to be the real challenge, because if we took everything government can do and do well, but the public hasn't done their part, the people that suffer is the most vulnerable. And again, my challenge is, why should us that can and should have been prepared compete with the most vulnerable citizens in our communities? We need to do our part so the rest of the team, the government agencies, the nonprofits and volunteers, and the private sector, we can then all focus on our most vulnerable citizens. And those people, you're talking about children, you're talking about frail elderly, people with disabilities, people that are poor. And for those of us that can and don't, we compete against them when a disaster strikes. So we're only going to be as prepared as the public is.
Right now, talking about the private sector, retail grocery stores, of course.
Yeah.
They have their big plans in place to keep, to get operations going. But how important is it that they include their employees in their plan?
To me, it's a bottom line issue. You cannot retail without staff. And I know a lot of folks have gone to the expense of putting in generators. They've got their plans in. They've got more resources to put in. They're able to prioritize getting stores open. But the bottom line is, if your staff hasn't done what they need to do to protect themselves and their families, they're not going to be there. And you may get a store open, but you won't be able to staff it. And so I think this is, again, this isn't about, well, it's a good thing to do. To me, it's a bottom line thing to do. If your staff have not had the opportunity to get the information about how to better prepare themselves and their families, they may not be there when you try to get your stores open. And the bottom line here is retail. If you're not open and you're not meeting the needs of your community as quickly as you can, you lose market share. So when you talk about employee preparedness, it's the bottom line. It's one of the key ingredients you need to be able to get stores open and maintain efficient operations, whether it's your warehouse and distribution, your corporate, or your actual retail location. Without staff, you're an open box with no staff.
Right, and that goes all the way up to, especially to the distribution centers.
Well, again, you have your whole supply chain. So again, we saw this time and time again where you may have pockets where things are working, but you have an entire distribution system. Particularly in the food sector, very thin margins. Your profit line is really on how quickly you can move stock. So you have a lot of efficiency in your system, which means you don't have a lot of slack. So any breakdown, even if you can get stores open, but any breakdown in your distribution system means you could run out of stuff. And as we find out, from these disasters, getting open is one challenge, running out is the second disaster. If you can't keep store stocked with the bare essentials and be able to keep people moving through your stores, again, you create an unsatisfied experience for your customers. They're going to turn to another competitor that can meet those needs, and you lose your market share. It's as bottom line as you can get. But from my perspective, there's a selfish reason. For every retail store that can get up and meet needs gives us the ability to focus on those parts of the community that either cannot get to the store or there's no store there. So we see this as a shared responsibility, as a partnership of building the team with the private sector and government. But we also know that our most valuable resource is our team members. And if they're not prepared, their families aren't prepared, they may not be there when the community needs them to get those stores open.
All right. With the hurricane season quickly approaching, how can the American people help FEMA?
You can either go to ready.gov, go to your website, or go to others, whether it's their state and locals, and find out about what the hazards are for hurricanes where they live. The first question you ask, do I live in an evacuation zone? And if you do, and evacuation orders are given, evacuate. Don't wait for the next forecast. You know, there's a couple of things the Hurricane Center is going to do this year to provide even more warning and more lead times when the watches are issued. But that may give people the sense that they can wait for another forecast to come out. And we know that the sooner you leave, the better the outcome is. So if you're in the evacuation zone, find out today, then make your plan to evacuate and have somewhere to go. And don't forget your pets and any special accommodations or needs you're going to have, plan now. For everybody else, focus in on getting your plans together, getting your supplies together, so that you go into hurricane season, you're not the ones that are having to do last minute shopping because you didn't get ready. When a hurricane threatens, you're able to do the things you do to protect your family, but you're not having to go out and get those last minute supplies because you took those steps now to get ready before a storm strikes.
Right, and the economy this year is affecting a lot of people, so if they can get started early with a little here and there, then definitely they'll be prepared.
And again, we talk about preparedness. You can go out and you can spend a lot of money getting prepared, and you can, really a lot of the stuff comes into a degree of comfort and luxury.
Right.
Most of the basic supplies you would need, the simple things you would need, aren't that expensive, and if you buy them over time, you don't have that big one-time expense. And again, a lot of times it's a scavenger hunt. If you look at what we recommend most people to have, you probably have it in and around your house, just not organized. And so sometimes getting ready for hurricane season could mean organizing what you do have and maybe adding a few things like some more battery-operated flashlights, a battery-operated radio, and that manual can opener may be all you need. But if you wait till the storm threatens, you're not going to have the time. You may end up spending a lot more money than you needed to, and you may not be ready in time.
Well, Craig, I'm hoping this is a walk in the park this summer. And thank you very much for your time. Any final word?
Again, we have a hurricane season, but disaster is no season, and the steps you take to get ready for hurricane season could protect you and your family when the no-notice disasters occur.
Thank you very much.